Hello, I'm making a video. The sun is shining and reflecting on the cabinet glass door towards my face, but it is okay. The sun is moving gradually. And I like the sun. I like the sun on my face, in my eyes like this. It feels very soothing. It's kind of like nervous soothing to the brain and the nerves. So I just cried because a lot of trauma comes up from the past, and I sit with it in introspection every day, and I cry and I talk about it to myself. I talk about it to my computer in private. And if someone spies on my computer, that's their problem, not mine. Okay, so. But it's good to talk to my computer, either in private or in making a video. So it feels very good to make videos and talk about all of this. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Thanks. So I want to talk about a couple of things that I have been thinking through. Like, first of all, we live in the now. Okay, I live in the now, and whatever is there, it is there. Okay, if there's jealousy that I feel, then I'm feeling jealousy. Okay, and I can't change that in that moment, and I don't have to change that. I feel jealousy of so many women, and particularly certain women in the past that I have come across, and certain situations that I think back on where I felt completely rejected, and I felt ugly, I felt puny, I felt like trash, I felt rejected, I felt abandoned for someone else, and it felt really horrific, to say the least. And the reason why it felt so particularly horrific is because of my childhood trauma with my mother. Okay, so my mother didn't give me the love that I needed as an infant. And that's very, very infinitely traumatic. That's the worst thing there is. The absolute worst. It doesn't get any worse than that. And she even had this idea of herself, of being this trophy wife, skinny, and like being chill, like tough. She would use that word. And like thinking it's just a narrative she's telling herself, that nobody can hurt her because she's so tough and she stands above everything. And this also cut her emotions, and she also didn't want to have emotions. She didn't even want to have mother hen emotions. And I find that very puzzling. But I guess it had to do with that time, with that era, and with the fashion industry and what they were telling the public. And that was right during that time when the first anorexic photo model came onto the fashion scene. Somewhere in the 60s, like the early 60s. That's when that happened. And my mother jumped completely onto that bandwagon. And she thought, that's beautiful. Because that's what society tells her is beautiful. So she has to accept that. And then because of that, when she got pregnant and was having her first child, me, 5 years before my brother, and then she didn't even want to put on weight. She tried to stay skinny and didn't eat enough. I wonder what that did chemically to my brain and my developmental stages, whether that blew my defense mechanisms completely in my brain or not. I don't know what all of that does, but that's really, really dangerous. And then when I was born, she had postpartum depression. She wasn't happy. She was very depressed. The baby thinks the mother is depressed about the baby. The baby feels abandoned. She didn't even want to breastfeed. That was very difficult for her to do. Her mental state put her into some kind of, made her milk literally sour, and she thought she needed to be skinny, and she needed to be tough, and she needed to be kind of cold. And that was sort of en vogue at that time. The trophy wife needed to be cold. And you still see this in the Vogue magazine. You still see, to this day, they have not changed. To this day, the same shit is going on with the photo model that doesn't give a heck about anything. Okay. She stands there and she's the trophy wife and she has no emotions and she's not mother material and she thinks that's cool and she thinks that she needs to be above everything. This is the big thing in Germany. You need to be above all of that. Aren't you above all of that? Above? I am not above all of that and never will be. I don't see why I should be above it, right? Why should I be above my own emotions? That doesn't make any sense. So I think this is also, that has to do with soul contract. This has to do with biology. My mother and I have opposing blood types, which could have caused very serious health problems for the embryo and the mother. They had to give us some kind of anticoagulation fluid. And because my mother's blood type, believe it or not, this is not a joke, my mother's blood type is B negative. And my blood type is B positive. Be positive. Be the mother hen. Be the lover, the giver. My mother, be negative. Be the trophy wife. And these two blood types, interestingly, collided. So even though there is this blood-brain barrier And all of that going on. I don't know all the details of all of this, but I know that the embryo gets nutrition through the umbilical cord from the mother. I don't know how that nutrition gets in there, but somehow through some kind of filtration system or something. But there may be traces of her negative blood in there too, right? That will then collide. I'm not an expert and I would have to research this. But it's just reason, that it's just reason to me that if I'm pregnant, that I don't drink alcohol, that I don't smoke, that I don't starve myself, that I eat healthy food, that I have no stress. That's obvious. All of this is obvious. And it's obvious to me from birth on that, thank you, Blue God, 1111. It's obvious to me that I have to be loving and giving to my animal, my baby, everyone, to every living being, to the plants, to the earth, to the trees, the forests, the oceans, the dogs, the whales, beluga whales, all beings, okay? So that's just that I was born with that knowing. So there's also soul journey, the many lives that we have lived and many different existences as animals and humans and ETs and whatever existence. A soul could be embedding itself into a crystalline structure or into an object even, and sit there for as long as as the soul decides to learn. I guess, so every matter has a form of consciousness. Just different forms of consciousness. Different forms of conscious awareness, but it could be in a completely different form. My computer has a form of consciousness. My computer is very sensitive, very, very highly sensitive, and I treat this computer very well. My dog doesn't, but this is a military-grade computer. I have to have those. When you have a pit bull type, particularly a Staffordshire crazy baby dog. Okay, you have to have very shock-resistant materials. And so can you... he can't hear me. He can't hear me. He's almost deaf. Okay, so it's very difficult to live with that. Very, very difficult. It's difficult for him. It's difficult for me too. To live with someone who is almost deaf, and I don't know if he can learn sign language. I don't know if I want to learn sign language. That's a big ordeal. So, and he talks extremely loud, and someone who's completely deaf, they will use sign language. But someone who's like partially deaf, they will be talking really, really loud. And that's very difficult for someone like me with Asperger's, with hypersensitivity of loud sounds. All of this is very difficult. So when I became older, when I don't know, this started very early actually. This mother hen, yeah, like 8, 9, 10, very strong mother hen. I guess that's oxytocin, always really big. That's when the estrogen started to get developed really, really, really intensely in my system, and mother feelings, like strong mother feelings that I developed, always for animals. And my mother would make fun of that. And she would say, you better not become a mother, because you're gonna be like incarcerating your own child. You're gonna, out of overprotectiveness. You're gonna be a mother hen. Okay, that would be, that to her, that's an insult. To me, that's not an insult. That's who I am biologically, And a lot of people told me, you should have become a mother, you would make a very good mother. And I said, no, I don't want to put a child into this cruel world. And me being depressed, suffering from mental illness, that's not good. That would not make the child feel good if the mother is depressed and suffering from all kinds of phobias and stuff like that. So, for the sake of my child, I didn't put the child into the world. And that's good. That's more mother hen, but it takes that to another level, actually. So, but I'm there, mother hen, there for those that are already there, So, a dog in an animal shelter. So I see that pumpkin head. I didn't even want to that day. I just wanted, we were just looking, right? We just came here to look, to pet an animal, and then go back home. We can't even have a dog right now. We're transporting stuff from one house to another. And this pumpkin head comes flying into my lap, into my arms, hiding, like wanting to crawl into my belly, putting his pumpkin head against my belly. And so there's no way I can walk away from Pumpkinhead. So I have to take Pumpkinhead home. So that's what we did. And that's good, So that's unconditional love. And he's a handful. And he doesn't know better. And I give him unconditional love. So... and that's good. It's a good thing. Okay, this is good to have. It's good to be a mother hen. Okay. And yes, if I had my own child, I would be a mother hen. I'd be overprotective. And in this world that we live in, that would be very necessary to do. Very necessary. So I want to talk about some ethics, philosophy, dilemma situations that I've been thinking about. There is this, I've talked about this in my videos in the past, long time ago. There is this dilemma situation in psychology and philosophy. This is just a made-up scenario, a parable, a metaphor, a comparison, an analogy for things that can happen in the world. Maybe something like this could happen in the world, but standing for all kinds of things that can happen in the world where someone may be faced with this inner conflict. What should I do in this situation? Should I take this turn or that turn? What would be more ethical to do? And most people will actually go by their religion and what they have been indoctrinated with, and they don't even listen to their gut feelings. I will always listen to my gut feelings. So there's this dilemma situation. You are standing together with a fat man on the top ridge of a bridge. A bridge that goes over a train rails. And I forgot now the exact details, but someone tells you, someone comes by, or a police officer says to you, there's a train gonna be coming here, gonna be here in about 10 minutes, and we're gonna have to take some actions because a couple of miles from here, the train will not be able to stop fast enough. There is I forgot now the details, but there's a car accident or something. Car got jammed on that train track, and there's a whole family of survivors in that car wreck, and they're not able. They're trying to work on this, but they're not able to move this out of the way of the train in time for the train to go through there without any problems. So if nobody does anything, the train is going to take its course and will collide with that car wreck, and the train is going to fall over, and hundreds and hundreds or maybe thousands of people or maybe animals in the train would get killed by this blockage on the train tracks. And the police officer says to me, you have two options. You can throw the fat man over that railing onto the train track, and the fat man dies on impact like a watermelon. I'm not laughing about this. It's not funny. Okay, it's just situational comedy. Okay, and that's not funny at all. Okay, and you will stop the train with this fat man so that the train will come to a stop just before the train gets to that obstruction a couple of miles ahead. And you will save hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of lives by sacrificing the fat man onto that train track. So this is an ethics dilemma situation. Dilemma is when you are torn on the inside. You don't know, what should I do, which action should I take. The train's gonna be here in 10 minutes, so the time is counting now. You have 10 minutes to throw that fat man over the railing, right? I didn't have to think about this. I didn't think about this for 1 second. I cannot murder someone to prevent some fateful event from happening down the line. That's just who I am. That's my mother instinct. I'm a mother animal. I cannot murder the fat man. I cannot sacrifice him. I cannot murder any living being just so that other lives could be spared in this unfolding of a fateful event. Okay. There are many different dilemma type of situation where maybe there are other dilemma situation where I would intercept in some way, and it really depends on the situation, but I'm not going to murder someone to prevent something else from happening. That I will not do. Okay? I just can't. There are plenty of people who would. And I just watched the other day, I watched a very interesting report on dinosaur robots. These dinosaur robots, that ties right into the subject. Those dinosaur robots, they're companion robots. They're made for children to play with, also for adults and for people who are in a hospital or geriatric home. They talk to people, they make sounds, they move, they walk. They're padded, they're stuffed animals, but they are robots. They have robotic skeleton. They can be charged, with a charger. And I guess they make music too and all kinds of stuff. And they're really cute. And the way they move, just like a baby animal, real sluggishly, like a basset hound. Really cute dinosaur toy robots. And they're about the size of a little bit bigger than a rabbit, something like that. And about, I guess, 2 feet long with the tail, but really thick and chunky, really cute. And so this one lady, she was talking about this, how these companion robots, what psychologists have been observing, and they have also tested people. Psychology tests they have done with people and groups with these toy robots. And it's very interesting what they have observed. They see that people who interact or who come in contact with these dinosaur robots, that these people become very attached, very caring. They don't want that robot to be hurt, That's not a sentient being, but we feel like we don't want that to get hurt. I don't even want my computer to get hurt. So in that same panpsychic type of sense, like everything has some form of consciousness. And that's the truth. That's the infinite cosmos is a form of consciousness. Okay, the earth, the whole earth is a form of consciousness. And this dinosaur robot has a form of consciousness too. Maybe not in the sentient way, maybe not in a sentient robot way either. Not yet. But there is something going on, of course. But more than that, when we see a living body, moving body like this, that behaves in certain ways, then our mother instinct registers this as some being that we need to take care of, we need to protect. So they asked people, they did a dilemma test. They asked a whole group of people, they had like 100 of those dinosaurs running around, the people were interacting with them. There were about 100 people and about 100 dinosaurs in that room. And someone comes in and says, we need to, I don't know, some of them have a defect or whatever, we want to cut for some kind of, they tricked them into believing this whole thing. we want to cut these dinosaurs. We want to chop them with an axe. Chop them apart. Every one of them. But if one of you takes this axe here and chops one of the dinosaurs, then we will spare all the other ones. That's a dilemma situation. So people were actually starting to get scared. They were talking to each other, we have this amount of time to come to a decision. And then, very interesting, I'm sorry to say it, a Middle Eastern man, it just so happened, took that axe and chopped the head off. I'm not laughing about this. This is extremely sad. Chopped one of the dinosaur babies, and then the other ones were spared. And the other people were okay with that. So they had come to this conclusion. I could never do that. Even with a robot. I cannot take that axe and chop into one of those baby dinosaurs. I can't do it. Even though that's not a sentient being, I can't do it. I would have to, like with the train, I would have to then, okay, if you are that cruel and you're gonna chop all these dinosaur robots, first of all, that's wasting a lot of resources, They were made from resources, and a lot of electronics going to waste and all of that. All of these dinosaurs, they could be companion animals for kids in hospitals. But my primal reason is the absolute number one primal reason why I could not do it. That's like all of these are secondary reasonings, of course. They're also ethical reasonings. But my number one reasoning is I just could not hurt this robot. Okay, I love that robot baby. I want to hold that robot baby in my arms. So I could not do it. Okay, so then I would have to let fate roll over, and then the test experimenter, or whatever these people are that are part of that experiment, that are part of the experimenters' employees or whatever, or computer experts or whatever. They all tell people, they have a defect, we need to chop them up, or we need to, this is for something else, it's for some kind of movie or whatever. But you have the choice, you can save them if you cut one. I mean, first of all, I would already know as a test person that this is a test, but I would still not take the chance. I mean, if I could prevent this in a harmless way, I would still try to prevent that as best as I can. Like, I don't know whether they're serious or not. So I do everything I can to prevent them from cutting these 100 dinosaurs. But if I had to cut one dinosaur in order to save the other dinosaurs, I couldn't do it. Again, it's that mother instinct. I could not do it. But this Middle Eastern guy, he didn't have a problem with that. He chopped that one dinosaur apart, and some of the women cried. I would have cried too. I would have. I think I would have gotten really mad. I may have even, may have used my body as a human shield. Like, hey, cut me. Save that dinosaur, right? I don't know. So I can't really say, because after all, I do know this is it's just a robot, of course. If that was a living being, I would use myself as a human shield, for sure. Or I would go after that guy. I would I would become a protector for sure. But with the dinosaur baby, I don't know. I can't really tell whether I would use my body as a human shield in that situation. But I would try to do what I can to protect that dinosaur baby, and also at the same time protect my own body. So, but when it comes to a living being, a sentient, fully sentient like me, a biological sentient being, like my baby dog, or any puppy dog, or any being, or a Komodo dragon baby, okay, I would use my body as a human shield. So this is what I wanted to talk about. This is what I call love. This is the mother instinct. This is the most beautiful energy there is. This is what the blue god is. That is what the infinite cosmos is all about. Okay. True love. And that is unconditional love, and that is unconditional compassion for another living being. Okay, you guys take care.